Hello and welcome to another macro video. Today we're looking at MultiSwitch and I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks. But first of all, let's just remind ourselves of the basic functionality. So you have to have a switch list which contains all sorts of words that you might want to change from one to another. And then when you have some text to play with, here we go. So we find the word that and you decide that that needs changing to which, so you run the macro and it switches it over. Or we might have the word have and that should be has. So again it will look down the list and find the alternate. Okay, what I want to first of all show you is that we can apply this to a practical situation of adding comments into the text, and there is an existing macro, but what that does is, so if I'll just show you, if we have a phrase there that we don't understand, so we can run the macro and say let's say I don't understand the meaning, which is that, so it comes up with will the readers know what this means? If so, fine. So that's just a standard comment, or it might be say that is that in the glossary? So that is not defined in the glossary. Okay, so the idea then is, in an application where we don't need to copy the text that has been selected and just need a comment, then we could have standard comments in the text itself. So if I have that comment, if that's the comment I happen to want to use, at the beginning of the text here I can have, so I'm saying will the reader, so W, and then I put in the comment there, and so that what I now would do is, so I select something and I say Control-Alt-M, which is just the normal keystroke for putting in a comment, and then just type W and run MultiSwitch, and so that's there. So you can then add other ones here. This is not in the glossary, or whatever you want to add there. Okay, so that's that application. What next? Yeah, numbers. I mean, we've got numbers which can be changed. You can put those in your list, but of course you would have to put the cursor next to the number and run the MultiSwitch, and it would change it like that. But it's quite useful to use the numbers to text macro, so that when I run that, so you see where the cursor is in 3 there, if I run that macro, it goes along the line until it finds the next number. So that's a nice idea, that if you know there are a number of numbers that need changing, you just go click, 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 and it even goes to larger numbers like that. Okay, so someone said to me, okay, well, could you do that for I was doing various German-based macros for people. Could we have this one in German, please? Yes, I assumed that if I change the language from English into German, then it would do the same thing, but it doesn't. So we had to do a bit of a swap. So okay, we can get some German numbers and put those into my list there. So I can now do it on a one-off basis. So I can run MultiSwitch with 3 and it turns it to dry. Okay, fine. But it would be nice to have the numbers to text type idea where it runs along the line. So I wrote a macro called number to text MultiSwitch, which basically runs along the line until it finds a number, and then it calls up the MultiSwitch to pick off the number it wants. So if we try it there, it runs along the line until it finds a number and changes it. So run the macro again along the line and it finds 18. Try it again. It's set up so that it only finds 1 or 2 digit numbers, and because it's done in MultiSwitch, you could do the same thing again for a different language. So if I go over here and get some other numbers, pop them in here, got some French numbers there, so I can do the same, so run the same macro. So it goes along the line, finds the 3 and the 6, oh that's cease, and the D's wheat. Okay. So what have we got next? Okay, now a proof of context. I wanted to do the same sort of thing as with numbers, but with words. And my idea was that if I could provide, if I had some words that I wanted to change, so in this case we're talking about sexist words, so you've got man, he, him, his, and we change them then to some alternate. I could do that on a one-off basis in MultiSwitch, but it would be nice to be able to go along the line and get a macro to do it, to look for those words and then to change them. So I produced a macro which basically has a set of words that it's going to look for, and then it'll go along the line how far. Well, 200 words, or you can make it 2,000 words, or whatever. It doesn't matter. You can get it to look through the text until it finds any of those words, and when it does, down here it runs MultiSwitch in order to change them. So let's have a try at that. So we need some text to work with. So if we try and run the desexer, as I've called it, it goes along the line, and it didn't work because I didn't put the words in. Where are my words? Here they are. So I want those words to be in my MultiSwitch list. There we go. There we are. And hopefully this time it'll now work. So let's move that back into there. Let's try starting from there and running the macro. Goes along the line. It finds man. It finds she, he, and it finds him, her. Interestingly, it didn't pick up he's because that is a word, so we'd have to add that into the list and do the appropriate thing in there. So we would put it in there and then add he, she, is, or whatever. So it will literally do a word, and that word wasn't one of them. So let's try another version. What we've got here is a tense changer. So what I'm doing here is changing from present into simple past. So I've got those are the words I'm looking for. I need the words that I'm going to change, which are over on my other file over on the other side. Copy that, bring that into here. I don't know where I put it really. Put it in there. Okay, so it's going to look. This is the what I've called a tense changer. So it looks for. It's the same macro basically, but just with a different set of words at the beginning. That's why I haven't bothered putting the rest of the macro there. So if we go to here, we can run the macro, which is the tense changer. Goes along the line until it finds. It's found can, becomes could, could. They're all cans and coulds. Do, did. Is, was. So what it's doing? Whoops, wrong one. I ran the wrong macro. Oh well, never mind. I've done the basics there. So it's just proof of concept, and it's up to you to choose what words you want to look for. So you put those in a macro, and just at the beginning of the macro there, and then you have to have your switch list, which provides all of the alternate words for the ones in your list. Well, that's it for now. If you have any queries, do email me. Bye for now.